Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. Welcome home, y'all. This is episode 119 of Native Land Pod, where we give you our breakdown of all things politics and culture. I'm your host, Angela Rye, joined by my co-hosts, Andrew Gillum and Bakari Sellers, as well as our dear brother and guest co-host for this week, the Reverend Dr. Jamal I bought the dress Bryant.
It's more like, I bought the dress.
I bought the dress. I be saying that for no reason, brother. I just want you to know. I bought the dress for no reason.
It haunts me to this day.
Oh, man. Get out of here. Welcome, Bishop. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad y'all got dressed up. Because I told Karri I'm taking the dress now.
I'm glad y'all got dressed up
it's mine.
for the right reverend to come on the show. I put on my best usher board outfit.
I got my shirt
look like
a deacon. You don't look like a usher. You are a deacon today.
He over there with the stewards. He in the steward corner.
He needs to be an elder as old as he acts. Well, we're so happy to have you. And we are thrilled to jump right into the show. We added a new segment, Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, called For Your Situational Awareness. Yes, for your situational awareness. And it's always because we have news you can use. So we're going to jump right into... In January, the North Carolina Board of Elections advanced voter suppression causes by removing 3 polling sites on 3 college campuses: Western Carolina University, North Carolina A&T, and the UNC Greensboro. Last week, a judge ruled against student plaintiffs refusing to allow the schools to retain the early voting sites, and some students responded in kind. Let's roll the clip.
You profiled us.
You profiled us.
You targeted us.
You took away our accessibility to vote.
You took away our accessibility to vote.
You took away our accessibility to vote.
All to benefit Virginia Fox.
Virginia Fox.
But you will see us and you will feel us.
But you will see us and you will feel us.
And you will feel us.
I'm Kai Creekmore.
Child, they said not only you going to take our polling site, but we going to run somebody for office against you. I love to see it. What y'all got?
I mean, somebody who ran when they were 21 years old, I'm all for it. And people are afraid of young people. Every college campus I go to, I ask one question of everybody when I speak. I say, is there a polling site on your campus? And most elected officials are deathly afraid of having young people have polling sites on their campus because they know they're going to show up and show out. And so, Kai Creekmore, let me know when we knocking on doors what we need to do, brother, because I appreciate your energy and I appreciate the way that you are mobilizing young people in the mind frame of another North Carolina NC State University grad, none other than Jesse Jackson.
Love it. Okay, we're going to move right along then to last week in a 213 roll call vote. The United States House of Representatives passed the SAVE Act for a second time. The bill, which requires ID and proof of citizenship, let's be clear, now makes its way to the Senate, despite the fact that it is already illegal for non-citizens to vote. According to the League of Women Voters, compared to white U.S. citizens, citizens of color are 3 times more likely to lack documents such as birth certificates, passports, naturalization certificates, or certificates of citizenship, or face difficulties accessing them. For example, while approximately half of all American adults possess a passport, 2/3 of Black Americans do not. Senator Chris Murphy had something to say about the SAVE Act coming to the Senate. Let's roll it.
So Republicans have this bill, the SAVE Act. It just passed the House of Representatives. It's on its way to the Senate, and it stands for one thing. They're trying to stop your right to vote. Republicans believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and frankly, they believe that anytime a Democrat wins an election, it must be because of fraud. They have no evidence of that claim because it's made up. The fact of the matter is our elections in this country are wildly clean. There are very few, if any, actual cases of fraud in most elections. And when you find them, it's on the margins, 1 or 2 people that shouldn't have voted here or there. But Republicans want you to believe that this is an epidemic. It isn't. But what they really want to do is just stop you from voting. So they're going to use this claim that there's fraud in our elections to pass the SAVE Act, which will make it way harder for you to vote. One of the things the SAVE Act does is to require your birth certificate to have your existing name on it. Well, for a lot of married women, your birth certificate right, doesn't have your married name. And so millions of women in this country are basically disqualified from voting. It requires you to produce, when you register, a birth certificate or a passport. We don't do that now, and that's how millions of Americans register to vote online. But now, online registration may be completely eliminated. The bill requires states every 30 days to purge their voter files of people, for instance, who haven't voted in a while. So if you're just busy and you haven't voted in the last couple of elections, you might show up to vote in the next presidential election and your name's gone, because what they're trying to do is just take you off the rolls. This is absurd. It's all built on a lie that elections are being stolen by some cabal of Democrats and Nicolas Maduro and George Soros and whoever else. But it's really all about just trying to stop you from being able to vote. That's why we have to stop the SAVE Act in the United States Senate. That's what I'm going to be working on over the next couple weeks.
What do y'all have on that one?
Yeah, I think we're one step away from how many bubbles are in a soap bar. That we're making the electric slide backwards. And I think it's apropos that you look at the infringement because of all of the things, Bakari, that people will talk about, Reverend Jackson, is that what should not be discounted was the numbers of people Rev organized to register to vote in 84 and 88. It pulled in a hailstorm of Black elected officials around the country who were elected because of his mobilization. And I want to hinge a wagon on the first clip, is we spend a lot of energy around voter registration and get out to vote, and not enough energy preparing people to run for office. So for what that young student is doing in North Carolina, I'm excited, and I hope that it catches on.
Yeah, I just I couldn't agree with you more regarding the first clip. Training up and also just helping people get in touch with their ideological belief system. Like what do we stand for? What are we trying to do? What do we want to have changed by way of us having served? What do we want to be different as a result of? This SAVE Act is really, it's not a problem in search of a solution. It's a solution in search of a problem. It'd be one thing if we had tens of thousands, even thousands of people, or votes rather, after each election being determined to have been illegally cast. But in most cases, it's not even that the vote that a person has voted illegally. It is that they have inadvertently registered to vote or have been registered to vote, because many DMVs will put you on the rolls should you sign the consent, and people find themselves unaware that they had gotten registered and may later learn that they were not legally registered. Most of the issues around votes and illegal voting taking place is caught at the registration process. And even there are not significant numbers. So we're talking about a few hundred votes in the entire country over the last 10 years. Were later determined to have been votes cast that should not have been cast. And in truth, not enough to change the outcome of the election, almost anywhere, not enough to change the outcome of the election. So this is a ruse. This is an attempt to disqualify as many women, because women oftentimes when married change their last name. The birth certificate doesn't match the last name that they have now. They then have to write to the government in the state in which they were born, ask for them to produce a birth certificate that then matches, then get with the state Secretary of State or whoever keeps documents for the state and the state that they may live in, and figure out how they make reconciliation of all of these different documents. And I don't know about y'all, but I tried to get a Social Security card because I had misplaced mine. And I will tell you, I got 2 different cards sent to me with 2 different middle names. Wow. Not one of them had the same middle name. And so then I had to go physically into the office, spend hours in waiting rooms until I could see an administrator who would then work with me, because I had requested a birth certificate as well, to then make this document right. Can you just imagine the burden that we are putting on people to frankly address a problem that is not a problem?
Yeah.
So it's a shame, and it's a sham, by the way. It's a sham, and it's an intention to keep our people from voting.
Well, speaking of sham, so is the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And I know you had something for her, Andrew Gillum.
Well, I mean, we got a clip of her, y'all. You probably may have seen her giving commentary about what she believes her expanded role as Homeland Security Secretary and being over ICE and the borders. Listen to what she had to say, and then let's try to clarify for her what her job responsibilities actually are.
Elections is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it.
Y'all, you know that's loaded, right? So I should let y'all opine about the right people voting, right? Get the right people voting to elect the right people. That's the Homeland Security Secretary who believes that she has been vested with the powers of running elections in the country. So here's the fact check. She has not been vested with the powers of running elections in the country. She has a responsibility in the development of the Department of Homeland Security. The secretary is responsible for what is called the continuity of government. Should there be some cataclysmic event that takes out the president, the line of succession, a nuclear attack, or some other unforeseen circumstance that removes the power structure, the federal power structure, they are tasked by law to have a continuity of government. What would happen in such circumstance that the line of succession is wiped and you've got to keep the government running in some form or fashion? That typically involves bureaucrats, people who know how to create these sorts of systems, researchers who produce these kinds of medicines and medical research, other administrators, people who can keep up the basic function of government. Elections, however, through the Constitution and through everything what we've been taught so far as I know, is a power that is devolved into that of the state. And quite frankly, the state then develops that power further down to municipalities, most often at the county level. There are over 100,000 municipalities or governmental functions that are responsible for the conducting of any federal election at any particular point in time. Over 100,000 agencies, and each one of them, by and large, are operating by a different and unique set of circumstances, rules, guidelines, with only probably two major interventions by the federal government. It was the Save America Act, and it was like something like Help America Vote. If y'all remember, after the 2000 election debacle, there was some guidance given to help states update their counting materials, so on and so forth. So the secretary again has overstepped her boundaries. She has no responsibility for the elections of anyone at any level of government, federal, state, local, municipal. She's responsible for the continuity of government, which all of us ought to shudder at the thought of anyway, but it's generally a document that's passed on from secretary to secretary. So hopefully she don't screw around with it. Somebody else has to hit this right people.
I just got one fact.
Okay.
Can I throw one fact out there real quick? Because Andrew, you covered a lot of ground right there. Yeah. But back in November, her office did find that there was one, as they called them, criminal alien who voted despite not being a United States citizen. So in the entire election, they found one criminal alien. That's their words, not mine. But as it turns out, that person actually had a green card and voted for Donald Trump 3 times. So I just wanted to throw that little fact check out there for you. You can't make it up, Reverend Doctor. So I wanted to throw that fact check out there. It's a New York Times article by the one and only Jonathan Karl, who went through this and profiled how DHS had this huge thing about the criminal alien who voted multiple times in Kansas. He's now being prosecuted by the Kansas Attorney General for 3 counts of voting without being qualified and 3 counts of election perjury.
Well, you said, Andrew, screwing around. And so speaking of that, we're going to go ahead and file this next one under they doing way too much. It's the 2,800 Olympians who allegedly went through 10,000 condoms, and it had not yet been a week. Happy
That
Valentine's
sound like
Day.
Graves Hall.
Okay.
That sound like Graves Hall, Reverend Bryant.
Listen, I was in the
Okay.
units.
All right, hold on. So I want you all to hear what this Olympic medalist and figure skater, Adam Rippon, who's also a podcaster now, he has an answer to some of our questions about how they moving through these condoms so quickly.
How they moving?
What's happening?
Hey everyone, I'm Adam Rippon, and I have some questions that Winter Olympians get asked all the time. I'm gonna answer them. What really goes down in the Olympic Village? Well, obviously I've heard a lot about the condoms. Okay, who hasn't? I wanted to know, where are all these condoms? Well, I did eventually find them in the medical tent. Now, in my mind, it was this lavish sort of experience, but really it was just like a basket filled with condoms that said in Korean, generic condom. No Olympic rings, no fanfare, no frills. How do the athletes go through so many? I'll tell you how I went through so many, because I took that basket of condoms and I opened my backpack and I shoved the whole, maybe 3,000 of them in my backpack. And I gave those to my friends as souvenirs. I think the real shenanigans are happening at the summer games, because if you look at those athletes, they're basically naked and it's warm outside. I don't know what you think you're getting into at a cold place. You're in a parka. They already set you up so that there's too many layers to go through.
I thought this was so funny. And I do want to just take a moment to shout out the Olympics Committee for encouraging safety over everything since 1988 by
Not
providing
safety if they ran
free
out.
condoms.
That ain't safe. That ain't safe
well,
if you run.
He took 3,000 of them.
They provided them. They were trying to provide a pathway to protection, to safety.
Yeah, well, at least the athletes get free health care.
Yeah, there it is.
How about that?
There it is. These are overachievers, guys.
That a whole lot of others do not have. So, thank God.
These people have been overachieving all their life. Why wouldn't they continue to overachieve? The Olympians need love too.
It sounds like they steal. He done stole 30,000 of them, talking about took them to his friends for souvenirs.
Man, I wish somebody
First
would
of all,
give me.
I've never heard of a condom as a souvenir, but
That's what I was going to say. I wish somebody would give me a condom as a souvenir.
I mean, it sounds like they like that in his friend group. He said, if I ain't got nothing else to take you, it ain't no pens, it ain't no shirts, it ain't no. He's like, I'll bring you what I got.
And he said they were in Korean.
Yeah, he said generic condom in Korean. Right. So there's that. Well, they might try to erase our history, but we make more anyway. For the first time in history, 5 Black surgeons are leading the trauma unit at Johns Hopkins Medical Center in Baltimore. Let's roll this Black excellence clip.
Finally, the doctors behind a different type of medical breakthrough. Take a good look at these 5 doctors. More than a portrait, it's a moment suspended in history. For the first time, 5 African-American surgeons now lead the trauma service at the preeminent Johns Hopkins Hospital. Tonight, we hear from some of the trailblazers behind this historic team.
My parents are so proud. I am the first physician in my family, and I think it's so impactful.
For Dr. Lawrence Brown, medicine is more than science, it's service.
That's what's important to me. Equity has to remain at the forefront of how we deliver patient care, how we do research, how we scale programs up in our healthcare system.
Dr. Zachary Numa is the result of service that was modeled and purpose that was inherited.
Growing up in Columbus, Georgia in the 1990s, I watched my parents, my mom, a family medicine doc, my dad, a general surgeon, show up to serve patients every day.
For Dr. Ife Shiombo, history isn't just remembered here, it's carried forward.
The best part is that I get to save lives and have an impact every single day. To anyone who's watching, realize that your dream and capacity can only be limited by you. And if you can think it, see it, then you can absolutely reach it.
That's good. That's good.
Love it.
That's good.
Proud of that.
Any reflections, y'all?
I would just say, for those who want to kick immigrants out or not let them in the first place, I'd be curious. I don't know the places of origin for all of the doctors there, but I think I could see that there were 2 who probably were from the continent, or through their lineage with their parents. I could tell one by the head scarf representing an African country. So I just think we've got brilliant people who come from all over the world, and it's true in every profession. I'm proud of these brothers and and sister. I wish them well, but just think again when we want to push people so quickly out of this country, stop folks from coming in, how much this nation has grown, been built, sustained, expanded by the teachings, the talents, and creativity of people from all over the world.
Let me just remind people who are listening that at last check, and I may be off by 0.5% or maybe a full percent, but about 5.5% of all doctors in this country are Black. That number, because of the actions by the Trump administration, by the cowardice of some of these major institutions, is going to go down. That is an unfortunate reality we face. This is why we have to make sure that we're strengthening our HBCUs because of that 5.5%, 6%, 50% of that number have graduated from our historically Black colleges and universities. And my dad would always say, why are you trying to go somewhere where they don't want you anyway? And so I just want us to remember as young people are making these very difficult decisions about college, make sure you give the Xaviers of the world, the Florida A&Ms, I guess, of the world, the Morehouses, those individuals who have a history of producing doctors. Give them a look if your child wants to be a doctor. And if you're an alum of that institution, instead of writing your $5 or $10 check a month, maybe one month just use your drinking budget. Write a $150 check, a $250 check. And so I think that this is a lesson of our excellence, but also shows how much we have to. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, Reverend says that there's a time and a season for everything, but you got to water. You got to water what you've sown in order for it to grow. And so hopefully we water our HBCU so we can continue to put forth great individuals like these 5. Kudos and hats off to them.
I love it.
I wanted to challenge a real reevaluation for the community with our healthcare professionals. With the attack on healthcare and Black people in an inordinate way, dying from pre-existing conditions. I wanted to challenge our churches that we really have a health ministry in place. And I often say the Black church is the only place in the world where you can volunteer to be a nurse. They don't know how to do CPR. They don't know how to do the Heimlich maneuver. They just got a pocket full of mints. But we got to make sure that we equip the church so that we can get that information. And we need our Black healthcare professionals to assist us because a lot of people in our community are going to be adversely impacted because they are either uninsured or underinsured.
Mm.
Absolutely. Well, in addition to these Black folks making Black history, our dear brother, Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, and his lovely bride, Reverend Dr., because we can put some respect on her name too, Reverend Dr. Karri Bryant, made history as well at their church. They preached a joint sermon together for Black Love Day, Valentines Day, and Frederick Douglass Weekend. And we want to roll 2 of those clips. Let's get it.
Let me start by saying this. Every woman is not the same. Come on, sisters. Her difference is what makes her unique. Your ability to learn the language of the woman in your life starts with you studying her difference. You may find often that there are 2 general styles for women. A style when she feels loved, when she feels spiritually and emotionally safe, when she feels respected. She'll be direct, but she gonna be tender. She's warm and she's gonna be honest. When she's safe, she'll be playful with you. She'll tease and have banter back and forth with you. When she's respected, she'll be emotionally open with you and begin to share her fears, her vulnerabilities, and her dreams. She'll be nurturing and affirming. Her nonverbal attributes will show in her body language that it feels good to be around you. Can I tell you that a woman who is safe speaks differently? She moves differently. She engages differently. Now, there is another style that she may have when she feels unsafe or indifferent.
My Lord.
She gonna be direct and short.
I seen it.
Firm.
I seen it.
Guarded,
I seen it.
Emotionally flat at times. Cold, possibly. Withdrawing access from you. She might code switch a little bit.
Watch this.
That
This is
means
the
you're
best
going to
part.
get corporate Karri and not the Karri you know at home. Hello, how are you? What is it that I can assist you with today? Did you receive the email that I sent to you? My hours are between 9 and 5. If you would like to contact me, you can go through my assistant. She will be more than happy to help you.
Sis stood up, okay?
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Oh, my Lord.
She will be dismissive and uninterested. Don't think you're going to get no banter, no playing around, no smiles on our faces, because when we feel unsafe, we close off. We leave the text on red.
Look at Jamal.
She was just staring at you right now.
Oh, my Lord.
In the Super
I
Bowl
love
when
this
Bad
one,
Bunny
too.
looked in the camera but didn't say anything. I need you to hear this. The man in your life wants you to hear this. I'm telling you, brothers, y'all gonna have to high five me in the spirit.
I like this part.
Silence does not mean
Because women talk too much. Tell them.
Shut up, Bakari.
Women speak on average 16,000 words a day. Brothers, just blink at me twice. I know you can't say amen right now. Just meet me in the hallway. I got you. Women speak 16,000 words a day, and men only speak 7,000 words a day. So many times, men hear this, think through reflection and not through articulation. Wives, I got to ask you a question. Think for a moment why it is only men who require a man cave. There is no such thing as a woman cave. Men, when we hear what you are saying, we think, how do we solve it? And many times you are sharing when we are looking to solving.
So
my
good.
goodness. Oh, boy.
I want to hear the type of feedback you all got on this joint sermon.
question.
I was like, I
How was
want
it
to
received?
go back and hear the whole thing. I have not yet, and I really want to.
No, my parents, years ago, my mother transitioned last year, but years ago, my parents used to preach together in their church in Baltimore. This is over 25 years ago. So I said, Karri, let's try it. So this was our first time ever doing anything in that realm at all. But what I really want you to see, Ange, is after the sermon, we renewed the vows of 150 married couples.
That's awesome.
So to see 150 Black couples on one stage was what was amazing. Andrew, what was crazy is we wanted to honor the couple that had been married the longest. They had been 57 years married. And then we said, who's been married the shortest amount of time? It was a couple that was 4 months. So we said, we're going to give a gift to the couple who's been married the shortest amount of time to go to dinner with the couple that's been married the longest so that they can coach them and mentor them and give them the tools. So my staff hands me a card. Okay, the couple that's been married the shortest amount of time is Lisa and Michael. So I said, Lisa and Michael, because there's 150 couples out here. Lisa and Michael, y'all come up. We want to give you this gift certificate and meet the oldest couple. Bakari, the couple that had been married for 4 months was 60 years old.
Oh.
Bakari, the groom was on a cane. We had to help him get up.
Oh.
When you talking about love for the second time, that was what we had in our mind.
Oh, man.
But to answer your question, it was absolutely amazing. Love comes in so many different shapes and sizes
and ages.
forms. Listen, don't let love just happen for the 20-year-old.
That's right. That's right.
Let Nana get some. Let Nana get some.
Oh,
Not
Lord.
Nana.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
First of all, my brother is 60, so let me find out he pop. But yeah, that is incredible. It was such a good sermon, and I think the way that the clips, because I'm going to go back and watch it. I urge our listeners to go and watch it and listen to it as well. But I think what's so remarkable about it is, with you and with Karri, I love you guys' love. I just sent a text the other day. I sent Carrie's clip to Mignon and Kim.
Oh, wow.
And I literally said to them, I said, she is the perfect mate for Jamal. Like, we could not have designed a better person. God knew exactly what God was doing. So I want to shout out our dear sister, especially because there's so many times where she's come under attack for being different, for showing up in ways that they don't see a traditional first lady or, you know, a pastor who's a woman. And I just love that she's like, I am going to define myself for myself. And y'all just going to have to wait and see. That doesn't mean that it's any less painful. So I applaud you too, brother, for being ride or die till the wheels fall off and saying, I bought the dress and everything else you got to say in between to make sure that she knows she's protected. And you know, we got her back too.
While you here, let me just steal some advice from you while we got you. Let me ask you a personal question. Just act like Andrew and Angela aren't here.
All right.
But what are some of the tools that you use in your marriage whenever moments of conflict arise with someone who is strong and independent and someone you love with your whole heart, but equally yoked? How do you avoid spiraling and making sure that your lines of communication remain open?
I'm going to say this to Bakari and Andrew, and you can eavesdrop. The whole controversy with the dress really awakened something in me, Bakari, that I had adjusted to dysfunction. I was so used to being persecuted that I became numb. So it didn't bother me what blog said or what the internet had to say or what was the crazy comments, because I'm used to people coming sideways. But seeing my wife's humanity in it, I realized that I had compartmentalized. And because all of us, Bakari, Angela, Andrew, we have grown up in public space one way or another. You can become so numb to it or adjusted to it that you almost have to parent your partner. You know, you holding it, it's going to be okay. This will be done at the next news cycle.
That's so true.
Just give it a couple of days. Don't respond, because we've been in it. And if not ourselves, the people who have mentored us, we have had to watch them go through it. And so, Bakari, it tapped into my humanity that it's okay to be Superman, but the reality is all of us are Clark Kent. And so rather than being dismissive, you have to identify with the pain. Not tell you, oh, it's okay, but to say, you know what, this hurts me too. And it hurts me that it hurts you. But minimizing it is only going to exacerbate it, because it's going to make them question, why am I hurt? Why am I angry? And when we're in this public space, people forget that you're human. They forget that you actually have feelings. And so we have gone into, we pray together every day, as opposed to praying together when we're in crisis. So when you pray together every day, it creates a different kind of rhythm, so that it doesn't become alien and it's not, in case of emergency, break glass. My mother used to say something to me years ago, and I give this to all the singles who are watching. Prayer is more intimate than sex. That people will sleep with you who would never pray with you.
That's right.
Oh, that's a fact. Because you don't want, you know, some of their prayers don't make it through the roof.
Hey,
so you
listen,
can't
you can always tell. So I would say identifying it and then taking away your tough skin, because it can become an enabler. And you got to really get in touch with your humanity. And a lot of times, Bakari, we feel it through our kids, or we feel through our spouse. And so being more in tune to your humanity and not just the block button.
I'm sorry to take some time. That was on my heart, so I just had to ask.
Well, you all, I mean, the sermon, y'all hit on it. I mean, y'all been in everybody's households. It felt like you observed enough of what happens in marriages, and obviously your life experiences lent a lot to it, but a blessing to your parishioners, and obviously for you all's willingness to make sure that you're sharing your messages outside of the edifice, outside of the building itself, so that, unchurched people and otherwise are able to access it and be drawn closer quite frankly, to Christ, because that's what this is all for. That it brings us closer and deeper into our faith. And I'll just say, you were running down my street up the block through the front door on this idea of the numbing that you do with regard to criticism, to the point that you lessen it so much that when others are going through it, your spouse, you're like, why can't you snap back? It's just like, keep it moving. Like, get with it. That is what it is. Move on and it'll be over. And Jay, during sort of the zenith of a crisis that we were in, bought this T-shirt that said, "What you don't understand about me, what you need to understand about me, is I'm not you, and the rest will make sense."
Yikes.
And it spoke. She had reaching out a place where it was like, okay, what works for you isn't what works for me, and what works for me may not work for you. But you just need to understand that we're not going to see these things the same way. I have my own way of seeing it, and now the rest of all my decisions will make sense to you. That they're not yours, they're mine.
And let me add, because I don't want to be presumptuous of everybody knowing my story, it is the second marriage for both Karri and myself.
Yeah.
I was divorced for 10 years. Karri was divorced for 9 years. Nelson Mandela said, it's not a loss, it's a lesson.
That's right.
And so you should learn something from your previous relationships. Sometimes the lesson is you learn what not to do. And you learn that it's not always the other person, but what is the brokenness in you that has to be addressed.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, on that, there is some brokenness in our community this week. We lost a giant, and we want to pay tribute to that giant right now.
At 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we couldn't eat turkey because Mama was preparing somebody else's turkey at 3 o'clock. We had to play football to entertain ourselves. And then around 6 o'clock, she would get off the Alta Vista bus, and we would bring up the leftovers and eat our turkey, leftovers, the carcass, the cranberries, around 8 o'clock at night. I really do understand. Every one of these funny labels they put on you, those of you who are watching this broadcast tonight in the projects, on the corners, I understand. Call you outcast, low down, you can't make it, you're nothing, you're from nobody, subclass, underclass. When you see Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination. I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you are qualified, and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive on tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much.
I can never see that clip and not cry. Yeah. So I just will say that there are plenty of obituaries going out from press, from white publications, some of them throwing the little digs in the shade. And we all have personal stories with Reverend, who has shaped all of us in some way. And so we wanted to take some time today to share some of those stories. And I will yield to whomever wants to start. I need just a second to gather. And we have a ton more clips just of Reverend himself, and also a response, a preemptive response from Reverend to Donald Trump before that crazy social post on Tuesday.
I think we should let our guests go first and set the tone.
I am overwhelmed. Our generation never saw Dr. King in person, but were able to get to the hem of Jesse Jackson. What a lot of people miss is in the last speech of Martin Luther King Jr. at Mason Temple Church of God in Christ, he told the people in the audience, tomorrow morning, go to a black bank, put your money there. He told them about a bread company in Memphis. because he began the shift from civil rights to civil rights. And what a lot of people are going to miss over the next ensuing days is that Jesse Jackson really heralded around corporate responsibility, from Budweiser to Pepsi to Toyota. And in large measure, what it is that we're doing with the Target Fast boycott is the seed of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who modeled that. And I am proud that his last protest in his life was with me outside of Target in Chicago.
Wow.
And so I'm grateful that the legacy he left, he was able to see another generation carry the torch. And I pray that we'll continue to do so.
I love that. I love that. What an honor. And Pastor, you taking the baton, because you're crystal clear and right on the ways in which Reverend Jackson really made centerfold for our community economic uplift, economic justice in the form of making sure boardrooms and C-suites reflected Black people, Black men and Black women at those tables. And I will tell you, if we could interview some of those earlier C-suite executives in corporations, Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies in this country, if we could interview those Black folks who walked through that door, I would wager that many of them would credit the work of Jesse Jackson. Those who are aware would credit the work of Jesse Jackson as having created a pathway and open some doors. I'll tell you, y'all, my first real work with Reverend Jackson was in like 1999, 2000. And I will admit, I was not really receiving him with open arms. I think, if I'm to be honest, a lot of my peers, in college in 2000 at that time were skeptical of Reverend Jackson. They weren't sure if this was, some flashy guy, suit with cameras coming in to overtake, our protests and what we were trying to do, or what was going on. So there was sort of a eye of suspicion. And I'll tell you, those walls came down in the very few days that we got to spend together organizing around the March on Tallahassee, the largest civil rights protest in the history of the state of Florida around voting, the 2000 presidential election where he came and camped out here, the marches in which he came and assisted me with, not by my invitation, by the way. And that was the beauty of him, is he didn't really wait for you to call him, to invite him to the protest you were organizing, to the sit-in you were leading. I don't know how he did it, but Rev had his tentacles, to the ground. And, he called up, what y'all gonna do about that? What are y'all FAMU students? You right there in the Capitol, right there with the government, right there with the governor. And he was one of the first people who taught me the lesson that it wasn't just when Black people at FAMU were impacted that we need to show out, but because of our proximity to where power was, and he meant physical proximity in the same city where the governor lives and where the legislature convenes, that when they come after Black people, it's our responsibility to be the first line of defense. He expected us to be down, sleeping at the Capitol or protesting outside the governor's mansion or doing whatever was required to raise the voices and the rejection of Black people, and to register that complaint, not just on behalf of us as FAMU students, but on behalf of Black people in the state of Florida, period. He imbued in us the belief that we had a responsibility for our collective community, not just for ourselves. I'll never forget it. And I tried to pass that on to other young leaders as I've encountered them. He was here again with my sister when she was student body president, and Philip Agnew, who was student body president. My sister served as vice president to him, and they began the organization Dream Defenders right there sitting at the knee of Jesse Jackson when they protested and stayed and slept on the Capitol floor of the rotunda in the Florida Capitol for 31 days. 31 days. And Reverend Jackson came in those final days because he said he knew that the government was not going to respond in the way that it should under the Republican administration, so that those kids needed a way that they could exit that building with pride. He wanted them to be able, after 31 days, to walk out in victory. And so he flew down and 11 o'clock at night is convening us to talk about what the strategy is going to be for their exit. And on behalf of my sister, myself, I'm sure Philip Agnew would agree that the lessons he's taught is the gift that keeps on giving, because these young people have now gone out into the world and have made really big change. And because of him, they are able to do it with a more strategic mind. That Reverend Jackson may have been there on the front lines of the protests, but believe you me, before they came out there, there was a meeting about what was going to happen the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, because that's the way he thought. Yeah. He had his mind set on what victory was going to look like for us. And in the process of protesting, he didn't want us ever to walk out looking like or feeling like we were the losers. He wanted us walking out feeling and believing and having achieved real victory there. And I'm thankful for it. And for those folks who get skeptical of the leaders that you see on TV all the time, or the ones you think run around and just chase cameras and aren't really invested in what it is you do, I would ask you to reconsider and think again. Because as I now reflect on it, I know that the attention that we got on so much of the activism that we were doing at the time wasn't because it was good and just work necessarily. It was because the Reverend decided to show up, and with him came 20, 30, 40 cameras and journalists who told our stories and broadcast it out for huge audiences to hear, to understand, and to activate around. And so I thank him, and I hope that he goes to glory knowing that he has raised multiple generations of people who are prepared to pick up the torch and keep marching.
I want to roll this 1984 clip of his DNC speech before we get to you, Bakari.
President Reagan says the nation is in recovery. Those 90,000 corporations that made a profit last year but paid no federal taxes are recovering. The 37,000 military contractors who have benefited from Reagan's more than doubling the military budget in peacetime, surely they are recovering. The big corporations and rich individuals who received the bulk of the 3-year multi-billion tax cuts from Mr. Reagan are recovering. But no such recovery is underway for the least of these. Rising tides don't lift all boats, particularly those stuck at the bottom. For the boats stuck at the bottom, there's a misery index. This administration has made life more miserable for the poor. Its attitude has been contemptuous. Its policies and programs have been cruel and unfair to working people. They must be held accountable in November for increasing infant mortality among the poor. In Detroit, one of the great cities of the Western world, babies are dying at the same rate as Honduras, the most undeveloped nation in our hemisphere. This administration must be held accountable for policies that contribute to growing poverty in America. There are now 34 million people in poverty, 15% of our nation, 23 million are white, 11 million black, Hispanic, Asian, and others, mostly women and children. By the end of this year, there will be 41 million people in poverty. We cannot stand idly by. We must fight for change now.
Bakari?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that people sometimes get caught up in the oratory or the cameras or the lights, but they don't know the dynamism that is the man. I mean, you're talking about someone who rescued hostages from Syria. You're talking about someone who, at his infancy, ran Operation Breadbasket. You're talking about someone who nestled up with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but also was respected by Ronald Reagan. I mean, just when you look at the resume and the breadth of it, I think we all envy the level of respect that came with being Jesse Jackson. I also think that his mind worked in ways that others really don't understand. It was a message that Jesse and my father would always say. And I remember when DeRay and Brittany and all of them at the beginning of Precipice of Black Lives Matter were marching and blocking highways in Louisiana. And my daddy called and said, let's make sure that they're not protesting at night, because people do under the cover of darkness what they wouldn't otherwise do during the day. It was this kind of way in which we've seen this and done this type of ideal that Reverend Bryant talked about, that they lived through, that you don't have to read about it. You know the people who can tell you the stories. And my familiarity with Reverend Jackson is that I call him Uncle Jesse, like we called him Uncle Marion Barry or Uncle Julian Bond. I'm a product of the proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. And so as we were laughing beforehand, we always called little Jesse Jackson Jr. Little Jesse, because when he was at North Carolina A&T, he used to babysit me. He used to come over and eat spaghetti dinners on Friday. That was the type of family structure that we had. And my dad and Reverend Jackson, they clashed at times, like many people throughout the movement. And it wasn't a clash over how much do we love Black folk. It was a clash over how do we get to the mountaintop. And as I talked about a little bit on air and love using my platform to uplift stories that people don't know, as you had those rifts between W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, the same rifts you had with Martin and Malcolm, the same rifts you had of legendary rifts that I know Reverend Bryant knows about between Julian Bond and John Lewis. The more fascinating part about Barack Obama and Jesse Jackson is that they were able to have a conversation before one of them passed away. They were able to mend those fences. They were able to let their heart beat. You saw the tears that came from Jesse Jackson's eyes when Barack Obama won that election. You saw him be able to echo the fact that his work meant something. And I just look at the product. You talked about, Andrew, what he meant to you all in that circle. I recall when my father worked on the 1984 and 88 campaign, really close to Jesse, but they hired two young women who we both know. They hired a young woman named Donna Brazile. They hired a young woman named Mignon Moore. These institutions, right? That's where they got their start. Yeah. You know how many people got their start in 1984 and 1988? Yeah. And it's just fascinating to see. And Bernie Sanders, for example, is 80-something years old. And I can say this with true veracity. There would not be a Bernie Sanders if there wasn't a Jesse Jackson. That's right. There wouldn't be an AOC if there wasn't a Jesse Jackson. And he was bigger than the Democratic Party. That's what I want people to know. He spoke to a humanity that people don't necessarily recognize. I encourage everybody to go back and look at his 1988 speech, the one that we watched a clip of, but watch how he talked about the American quilt. Mm-hmm. The last point that I'll make is something that I echoed before, but it's so important. And his oratory reminds me of Reverend Bryant's so much, not just in the allocution, but in the way that they're able to drive home lessons with metaphor. Because the way that Jesse Jackson was one time pinned down by a white reporter, he echoed this later in his life about equality, and he compared it to sport. And I go back to that all the time, because it's not that we excel in sport because of our size or our hyper-athleticism. We excel at sport because no matter what basketball court you get onto, it's 94 feet. It's 50 feet wide. The rim is 10 feet high. The basketball is the same size, and the rules are known before the game. It's the same with the baseball field. It's the same with the hockey rink. It's the same with the track. When the rules are clear. When the rules are clear, we can excel. However, outside of sport, for Black people, those rules change. And Reverend Jackson was just so clear about it. He loved his family. He loved Yusef. He loved Jesse. He loved Jonathan. He loved them. He loved every single person that he came around with. I was fortunate enough to allow him the opportunity. We saw each other in Chicago, and he was in a hotel. I was there for a conference, and he wanted to speak to Cleve. He had an opportunity to speak to my dad, and that was just a powerful moment.
I want to, just as an aside, just for historical record, is the transition that Reverend Jackson brought in. The black and white footage of the civil rights movement, everyone was pristine in black suits, white shirt, black tie. Jesse Jackson is not given due in large measure for help usher in hip hop culture. So to go from those sharp line haircuts to afros, dashikis, and medallions was not just a change in leadership. I don't want us to get so far away. It was a change of what we knew for leadership to look like.
Yeah.
And gave permission that we did not need acceptability from what culture was looking like. So from Selma to Montgomery, they marched all them miles in suits and dresses and heels and stockings. And Jesse comes with his chest out with a fist lifted up saying, hey, take me as I am. Out of that really came the raw audacity of hip hop culture to say this is who it is that we are. The most known slogan in Americana outside of a Coke and a smile and you deserve a break today is I am somebody.
That's right.
Yes,
Keep hope alive. I am somebody.
Keep hope alive.
That too.
And so that's before we started using saying you have a Bryant. This was our marching orders, the soundtrack of Jesse Jackson's movement was James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. So to know how revolutionary it was for poor Black people to say, I am somebody.
That's right. That's right.
What wasn't just a slogan or a T-shirt or a banner, it was a mindset.
That's right.
And so, Angela, that's so important because he was saying, I am somebody, drum roll, before there was a TED Talk.
Yes.
Before there was self-help books at Barnes & Noble. Before people could listen to audiobooks, they knew I am somebody. And I think that to raise the self-esteem of ostracized and marginalized people is a work that you can't even quantify. And so I'm grateful for him having that kind of brave, raw audacity to tell oppressed people I am somebody is simply amazing.
He was always proud. And I think, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, a lot of people don't know his story growing up in Greenville. His mother was 16 years old when she had him. And people don't know that part of his story. He grew up in abject poverty. The unique part about it, which I hope kind of, I'd say it was like his villain. What do they say when you like your villain arc or whatever, when you're born into the villainy or whatever? But people don't know that his father lived right next door to him. He didn't know that growing up, but his father was a successful businessman who was also his next door neighbor. And here he is growing up in abject poverty. When I mean poverty, they had an outhouse. And he grew up under the rigors of segregation, riding in the back of the bus, drinking out of different water fountains. And here he is growing up poor, and the man who is your quote unquote father is your next door neighbor. I mean, just think about the effect that has on who you are. And that's why when he says, I was born in the slums, but the slums are not in me. I mean, it just speaks so powerfully to his story. And I also think that his entire life, and this is just me talking, and we've talked about it, but I think he was trying to prove something to himself, and I think he was proving something to the world, and I think he was proving something to his father, that I am somebody. And I think that was really, really profound.
Yeah.
Well, before I do my tribute for Reverend Jackson, I want to run a clip of my dad on a news show just this week where he talked about his own experience with Reverend Jesse Jackson.
We must never surrender. America will get better.
Tonight, Western Washington and the United States as a whole are mourning the loss of civil rights icon Jesse Jackson. KIRO 7's Jack Bilyeu is live at Mount Zion Baptist Church in Seattle. And Jack, Reverend Jackson made frequent visits to the Pacific Northwest. He spoke to some of the people who were right by his side.
Yeah, and for many of those visits, KIRO 7's cameras were rolling. They usually included a stop right here at Mount Zion Baptist Church where he'd preach, plus other stops aimed at mobilizing African Americans or holding the powerful to account.
We were OGs, so, we worked on a lot of things together.
Eddie Rye knew Jesse Jackson better than most. Rye ran his campaign for president in Washington State in 1984, one of the many times they worked together over the course of more than half a century of friendship.
He was a jovial guy. My daughter Angela visited with him less than a month ago. He wasn't verbal at the time.
Rye says the biggest lasting legacy of Jackson's long and storied career is the way he transformed the participation of African Americans in the political process, turning them from voters or donors into delegates and advocates.
A lot of people had never thought about really getting intricately involved in the political process until Reverend Jackson ran. And that's something that resonated all across the country.
But his career didn't end after his 2 runs for president in the 80s.
This city really owes a lot to Reverend Jackson, and Reverend Jackson loved this city. He loved coming here.
Nate Miles and Daryl Powell showed Jackson around during a visit to Seattle in the 2010s, when he met with tech giants like Microsoft to advocate for diversity, returned to the civil rights hub of Mount Zion Baptist Church, and spoke to students at Rainier Beach High School.
And that's my challenge to them today.
If you study, you can be somebody. And he always said that I am somebody, and we went into the chat that I am somebody. They were excited, taking pictures. It was just very motivating for the students as well as the staff.
Jackson's role in the fight for equality is now over, but those who knew him say they will never forget what he stood for.
The impact of Reverend Jackson will last forever.
Now, the men you just heard from say people would call on Jackson for help with all kinds of things. That includes pushing for the freedom of a local man who is imprisoned in North Korea. We'll hear what his family had to say about the Reverend's passing tonight at 6. Live in Seattle, Jack Bilyeu, Cairo 7.
And I cannot remember, there's not an early childhood memory I don't have that doesn't involve Reverend Jackson's presence, either through something my dad is saying, some other protests we're about to get involved in. I talk a lot about this on my solo podcast from Tuesday. But I also came into being around Reverend based on the work path that I ended up choosing, or the path that chose me. When I went to DC after law school, we started an organization called Impact, and very quickly Impact became like a partner organization with Rainbow Push when Big Bro G-Flow was there, Gary Flowers. And so we did a panel at a Rainbow Push convening. And true to form, Reverend Jackson would go in every single panel discussion and go to the mic. And I'm using this story because to Andrew's point, I was like, why he always got to do that? Like, we in the middle of a program, and he would go in and he'd say something. And what I remember in this moment, I was so offended because he came in and he said, Jeff Johnson was moderating this conversation. He takes the mic from Jeff and he was like, y'all are talking about who's got next. I think that literally was the name of our panel discussion. And you can't replace a giant. With Goliath, David didn't just use a slingshot to take him out. He had to cut his head off. And I was like, why he want us to cut his head off? Like, what's going on? And I think to this day, there are aspects about what he said that I don't understand. But to me, passing the torch isn't about dishonoring the folks, the giants who come before you. It's about ensuring that you don't kill off a legacy unless you think that legacy is not worth living for. And I certainly don't think the man who had a theme song, Run, Jesse, Run, that Lou Rawls and Phyllis Hyman and James Cleveland did for his 84 campaign is somebody whose head is worth cutting off. Quite the contrary. This is someone who, when I was executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus, he was the only non-CBC member who could come in a meeting and be a part of the meeting. He was a CBC member to us. When he did Rainbow Push Tech 2020 to ensure that the tech industry would become more diverse, the CBC, without question, took on doing that same exact initiative on the Hill. And then I think the other thing that I would just reflect on is Reverend Jackson's call and responses, which are legendary. Mm-hmm. And the reason why his calls and responses are legendary is because you would start off with, I am somebody, and you would do them 3 words, and then he would hit you with a paragraph you couldn't keep up with on the other end. Like, you're supposed to respond. Like, I can't even remember what you said. So he would have these moments that would be so funny. And even, as he started losing his cadence and we couldn't understand him as well, he was still making us do call and response, which is also funny. I do want to just take a moment to send so much love to his family, to his kids, to Mrs. Jackson, to a staff member, John Mitchell, who preceded him in passing, to Gary Flowers, who I call Big Bro G Flo, to Butch Wing, who's based in the Bay and worked for Reverend for many years, Shelly Davis, Lamel McMorris, and Tyrone. Tyrone, I'm sorry, I cannot think of your last name, but no, I love you. And then the last thing I'll say is the last time I saw him was in the hospital in November. I really wanted to make sure I saw him. My dad couldn't go because my mom had just had a really bad fall, and I had to go for a speech. So I went to see him, and Reverend was squeezing hands when he couldn't speak, but there was a moment where he really felt like I needed to know my marching orders. He couldn't get them out in a way that I could understand, but I told him when he was ready to talk that he could call me, and that no matter what the marching orders were, that I would fulfill them. I made sure I called Congresswoman Waters so he could talk to her and hear her. And I called my dad, who decided to recite back to him his bio as if he hadn't lived out that story. But I will tell you that I'm very clear about my marching orders. I played them on the show on Tuesday. In 1972, Reverend told us that it was nation time. And as we go through these very harrowing times, my biggest regret for him is that he didn't see us turn the corner in a very ugly moment in our history. But I know that our marching orders right now is that it's nation time, and we have to build, and we have to build together. We have to do that with us. People see him as a great unifier, and he was, but before he was a great unifier, he ensured that our foundation as Black people was strong. And so with that, I do want to just take a moment to correct the record. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social about Reverend Jackson. He was writing saying that he was an extraordinary man. We can put that post up, Nick. And I won't read all of this. Of course, he chose to focus on a rift between Barack Obama and Jesse Jackson that Bakari's already addressed today. He lied about the long-term funding for HBCUs that he claimed to give, about the criminal justice reform that he's taking credit for, about giving, as if he's ever supported reparations, space to Reverend Jackson for Rainbow Coalition. But he was right in saying that he was a great man, a good man, with lots of personality, grit, street smart. Seems a little racist, but we won't belabor the point. I do think it is worth hearing from Reverend Jackson, his own words about what he had to say about Donald Trump. Let's roll that clip.
Well, I want to see us in this year use our collective vote to defeat Donald Trump. Trump represents something dangerous to America, using the presidency for personal gain, without enforcing the amendment laws in our Constitution, playing on racial fears. In Africa and the Caribbean are S-holes, you know what the S stands for. It's a Mexican judge was incapable of being judicious. The Charlottesville situation where you had the white supremacists march with tiki lamps, challenging Jews, banning Muslims. He's done some awful stuff to America, and we cannot afford that. We're more isolated in the world. We are isolated from the G7 countries. We're isolated from our neighbors in Canada and Mexico. We deserve better leadership in this. So I want to see Trump defeated.
Angela, I love you. That clip just reminded me. I think you're wrong. I think he did live to experience some of the change. Probably what I think is going to be at the start of this shift to reclaim our country in whole. And that is that it wasn't a military that drove this disastrous administration out of Minnesota. Not even the courts didn't do it. Not a senator, not a Congress, not a House Speaker or Democratic leader. People. And this was so, I think people with the evolution of time and technology, you think because you posted your objection on Facebook or Twitter or X or Truth or whatever, that you've done your activism. And what Rev understood so importantly, so critically, is that bodies in the streets, people in physical form, not a force of anything other than their bodies being there. And if he didn't do anything else, he taught us to put down the phone, put down to this, bring your body to this fight. Get on the streets, walk, march, sit in, sleep in. And people may call it old fashioned. They may think that that's just not how it's going to work anymore. Then let's just look to the example. The people coming to the streets are what got ICE and a corrupt government out of their state. And I think that that's what's going to save us every time. And that lesson, again, was taught to him. He taught it to us, and we got to keep teaching it, so on and so on.
Well, it's the point of the show where we get to our calls to action. And there's no better way for us to transition to that from one of the greatest action takers of our time working on behalf of the people. So I'll yield to whomever wants to go first.
Oh, I thought that was a setup for Rev.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well,
I'm sorry,
because
my Reverend degree ain't come in the mail yet. So I'm gonna let Rev.
I wanted en route, and I'll answer, but I wanted en route to drop one other seed that I don't want missed in the legacy of what Bakari shared about Reverend Jackson's dad. I wanted to add what is often ignored in history is Reverend Jackson was introduced to Dr. King through Dr. Samuel DeWitt Proctor, who was his college professor.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So it was an HBCU instructor, sent a letter to Dr. King that says, I have a young man who's a student who needs to study under you. Had that HBCU professor not seen something in him and connected him to the most seminal voice of the time, then I don't know what the outcome would have been. And so I wanted to give a shout out to HBCUs and HBCU professors who are really pulling out the best in our students. I think it's serendipitous that we're having this conversation en route to the midterm elections. And so Medgar Evers gave us the blueprint: voter education, voter registration, get out to vote. There is so much on the line. There is so much at stake. And I know all of us hear it in our sleep. Your vote is your voice.
That's it.
And so ask that you would please become involved and get engaged. I would say from the Black church lens, I hope that the Black church will take a page from white evangelicals. And the page that we should take from white evangelicals is find out what are our principles and our policies, and then find the personality. A lot of times in the Black culture, we look for a personality without having what are our policies. There is so much on the line this election cycle that we've got to find out what are our policies, what is the ask, and then do the drive behind that.
That's it.
It's really good.
What I was gonna say is, down south, we have this saying, and sometimes, Rev, when I speak around the country, around the world, you know how you say things sometimes, and you expect a response from the audience, and it's just crickets. Yeah, you're like, dang, doggone it, I'm in the wrong part of the country for this.
You gotta say, hello, lights.
We say give people their flowers while they're living. And we follow that up with an amen, and the crowd usually says amen, right? And I think that Reverend Jackson's death shows us something that we don't necessarily want to come to grips with, which is that our heroes are dying. And so right now, while we still have the Jim Clyburns, the Maxine Waters of the world, while we have a lot of these bishops and ministers and bankers and people who come from a generation that have seen so much and toiled in the proverbial vineyard, it's necessary we give people their flowers while they're living. And also, if we're younger than they are, like Angela Rye and her dad, make sure we're writing for them and getting their stories and spending time with them. And I'm doing the same thing with Cleve. It's hard to try to get them to write, but those things are so necessary. And today in particular, I know we're not supposed to necessarily give a date or a time, but on Wednesday, February 18th, is Willie Ricks' birthday. I don't know how many of you all know Willie Ricks or Mukasa. Mukasa used to walk through the campus of Morehouse all the time. But Mukasa was a young member of SNCC, and he loved Jesse, and he loved Dr. King. And he used to get on people's nerves all the time in the movement. And Dr. King he would always give Mukasa his old clothes. And so he would always have these suits and dress shoes that were a little too big for him, but he was one of the smaller members. There's a picture of my dad and Mukasa and Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier at Rikers Island after they got arrested for protesting the South African embassy in New York. And Mukasa's birthday is today. One of his claims to fame, although it gets stolen from him throughout history, is that he was with Stokely Carmichael in Mississippi when they came up with the phrase Black Power. And for them, Black Power was not saying that we were going to throw cocktails through the windows of white folk, but Black Power for them, and I've heard Reverend Bryant talk about this all the time, was Black economic power. It was Black political power. Black Power for them meant that we had a position of self-fulfillment. And so happy birthday to Willie Ricks, also known as Mukasa, one of the little-known members of the movement, but you are a big part of the Sellers family and Sellers household, and you are a big part of our history.
I love it.
Yeah. I'll ask Nick if he could throw up those images of Reverend Jackson with the students with Black Power held up, and maybe him doing a little teach-in. But I make that my CTA, which is to say that, you know, we oftentimes pass judgment on people and come up in our own heads with our own stories that we tell ourselves about the people. And I'm speaking very specifically about leaders. This was this was them.
Look at Skateboard P, Philip.
Yeah, these are the dream defenders and the early orientation of that group. This is at the 31 days of sleeping on the cold marble floors of the Florida Capitol and emerging, being walked out of that building with Reverend Jesse Jackson. But when he said, "I am somebody," I don't know that I fully encompassed. I didn't connect the truth of that mantra as I was repeating it right after him. But it is a powerful declaration. It's a powerful self-declaration. It's a powerful community declaration. And he said it the way he said it because he felt it with his whole heart, with his whole being. And he was ministering as much to himself as he was to those who were on the listening side. I just ask us to think be real thoughtful about the words that we speak. If we want them to have a meaning. But that phrase has taken on new resonance for me today. As we talked about the Rev, I am somebody. It is my self-declaration, but it's also a declaration for our community and the people who we love and care about, especially in this time where we're being pushed left and right, and the compass isn't clear. But we are somebody, and I think that helps to make the future and what we have to do much clearer.
I invite folks to go back and listen to Reverend Jackson's 1972 Nation Time speech from the National Black Political Convention. Why? I think that we have to figure out where we are as a people, strengthen our foundation to ensure that we do progress, that we do move forward, that we do embody the fullness of our power, our I am somebodyness. And once you do that, I ask that you tap back in with our dear brother, Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant. There is a Target boycott going on. We have to remember our power, even in moments like these. The discipline that Reverend exercised in so many movements are why doors got open for Black business executives, Black board members, Black vendors and contractors, all of that. And we cannot ensure our progress in this country, especially in these times, without that type of extraordinary discipline. So I invite you all to do exactly that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Bishop, for coming.
Thank you.
We're so very grateful for you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say in closing, thank you all for having me. Glad to be a part of the family reunion. And strategically, I wanted you to know what this day means to me because this marks the 381 days, the same amount as the Montgomery bus boycott. So to be able to come and to reflect on Reverend Jackson and to do it on homeland, I can't think of a better place. I'm grateful.
I love that. I love that. Welcome home.
Please keep us in your prayers, please.
No, thank you. Will do.
Welcome home.
As always, we want to remind everyone to leave us a review and subscribe to Native Land Pod. We're available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. If you're looking for more shows like ours, check out the other shows on our Reason Choice Media Networks: Politics with Jamel Hill, Off the Cup with S.E. Cup, and Now You Know with Noah De Barrasso. Be sure to give those a follow, and don't forget to follow us as well on social media and subscribe to our text or email list on nativelandpod.com. We are Angela Rye, Andrew Gillum, Bakari Sellers with Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant. Welcome home, y'all. There are 263 days until midterm elections. Please remember, I am somebody.
You ready on the stump? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor. But I am somebody. I may be young. But I am somebody. I may be on welfare. But I am somebody. I may be small. But I am somebody. I may make a mistake. But I am somebody. My clothes are different. My face is different. My hair is different. But I am somebody. I am black, brown, white. I speak a different language. But I must be respected, protected, never rejected. I am God's child. I am somebody. Give yourself a big hand.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.